So the response of a lot of the mainstream left to the death of Charlie Kirk is condemnation. Now, you have some people who are on Twitter or Tumblr or whatever who are celebrating it, but the general reaction of most of the people is sorrow. It's people coming out and say, Charlie Kirk was a great man. He was a good man. Political violence is never the solution. America gained its independence in a nonviolent way. Slavery was abolished in a nonviolent way. There is no history of political violence in the United States of America. And a lot of them will just act shocked or surprised or say, I never wanted this to happen. How could this have happened? I never advocated it. But if you go back and look at their rhetoric, this is very much the logical consequence of it. So let's just go back and see the things that people were saying and go through the logical causal chain. So to a lot of these people, if we take them at their word, Charlie Kirk was a literal Nazi, a National Socialist, and he wanted to stone gays. He wanted to re-enslave blacks and send them back to the fields. He wanted to have concentration camps that he would just fill up with illegal immigrants and just kill millions of people. And it just gets worse and worse from there. And they will paint him the picture of being like Goebbels reborn, of being the chief ideologue of Trump's National Socialist police state that will govern America forever. And they'll just go, okay, so we thought all that stuff, but we also thought he was like a good guy, and we don't support him being killed. I mean, like, what do you expect to happen? Sooner or later, someone is going to take that seriously and go, wow, I can stop another Holocaust if I take out Charlie Kirk. And to be honest, that's a more rational way of dealing with that worldview than this whole public grief, we don't support violence under any circumstances thing. We always talk about what if someone had assassinated Hitler, and we get movies like Inglourious Bastards or Operation Valkyrie or whatever it is. And we talk about how great it would have been if someone had have taken him out before the Holocaust happened. Well, if you think that Charlie Kirk is going to cause another Holocaust, that he's going to be Goebbels, that he's going to enable it, isn't the logical response to that train of thought to take him out? I mean, if you say he's an existential danger to the country, that he has to be stopped by any means necessary, and just all this stuff, the logical conclusion that a lot of people are going to take, especially people with low impulse control, is, well, I don't want there to be a Holocaust, so I'm just going to take out the guy who's going to start the Holocaust. And to me, that's kind of the logical conclusion of that worldview. And you start to get into, well, he was Hitler, but he was also a good guy. I mean, how can he be a good guy if he wanted to carry out multiple genocides? If he wanted to make the Handmaiden's Tale real? If he wanted to stone gays? How can he be a good guy under those circumstances? How is that like just a simple disagreement? And this is something I also never get. This whole thing where people go, oh, well, we can just work out our differences. We just have to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. There's nothing we can't settle with words. And I think it does trivialize a lot of things that people believe and the way that they see the world. And maybe I'm naive. Maybe all of this is just posturing and hyperbole, and none of the people actually believe in any of this. But no, like I said, if you thought that Charlie Kirk was going to kill millions of people, why are you sad about his death? Why are you pretending like this is not a good thing in your worldview in terms of what you were advocating, in terms of what you were saying? It's the logical response. The people who are celebrating this are acting logically given their worldview. The people who are pretending that they're upset about this are acting schizophrenic, or they're just doing it because of optics or because of legal issues or because they don't want the feds to come down on them. But the behavior is just really weird. And this is just something I see a lot in politics, is you get this rhetoric that basically puts you on a inevitable course to some sort of violent conflict. and then people are just shocked when it happened. And I'm kind of surprised, actually, we don't have more political violence in society. And I've said this in the past about conservative talk radio. And conservatives will always go, no, it's moderate. No, it's just about freedom and stuff like that. But if you start to really kind of piece it together, what is some things that this often said? The Democrats are communists. They're trying to set up a one-party Stalinist state. The elections are fake. There's no point in voting. There's no political solution. Then they'll yell "Sic semper tyrannis." They'll say disobedience to tyranny is obedience to God. And they'll say all this other stuff. And then they'll talk about how the Second Amendment is awesome and how it was instituted to protect people from a tyrannical government. And you just start to kind of put these pieces together and you're like, what is the logical causal conclusion of adding all this stuff together? And I think it's I don't really have to spell it out for you. And once again, when it comes to Charlie Kirk or the guy who tried to take a shot at Trump, for a lot of people, if you could have prevented the Holocaust, if you could have prevented Hitler from doing what he did, wouldn't you? And so it's very much just kind of a logical conclusion of that type of rhetoric. The thing that I always find really weird is, once again, the people who say we can have a reasonable discussion and find a compromise. How can you find a compromise with a guy who wants to kill you? And this is something I always kind of hate on kind of the more right-wing side, is you'll have people who want to put you in a camp. They want to take your kids away. There's all kinds of horrific things that they want to do with you. They want to replace you. And then they'll go, well, we just have to be friends. We have to be civil. We have to try to come to a compromise. It's like, no, but if it's as bad as you say it is, there is no room for compromise. I mean, what's the compromise? We're going to kill 3 million people instead of 6 million people? It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And when we talk about polarization and we talk about rhetoric, I think that that's the thing you really just kind of have to keep in mind, is that words have meaning and ideas have meaning. And people can be dumb, but they also have a certain degree of logic. And there's only kind of so long you can demonize certain people or say they're doing certain evil things or they're a bad person or whatever before people start to draw certain conclusions from it. And those conclusions lead to very dark places. Now, I think the reason that we don't have more political violence at the moment is largely inertia, is there is a taboo against it within society. And I just don't think that the taboo has kept up with political rhetoric and how people see the world at the moment. Because once again, the taboo really probably shouldn't exist if you actually believe what people say that they believe. And every time something like this happens, I think more and more of the taboo gets taken away and political violence becomes more and more normalized. And kind of the gap between rhetoric and worldview and IRL action gets closer and closer and closer. And so this is just kind of a general statement. I know I'm kind of all over the place with this video, but keep in mind the consequences of your views. Keep in mind the consequences of what would actually happen if you want to have if what you want to have happen happens. And this is kind of always my issue when I'm dealing with, I like to call them might makes right tough guys who just go, it's law of the jungle. Whoever is the strongest can do whatever they want. I mean, that sounds cool and it makes you sound like a badass, but have you really considered what the consequences of that are? Have you really considered what it would be like to live in a society like that, like a world like that? I think you really need to ask yourself, is that what you want? And this is something a lot of people don't do. And this is very common, particularly among white liberals. But I just find the people, once again, who are bemoaning Charlie Kirk's death, who are saying he was a good guy. He was a good guy who wanted to re-enslave blacks and stone gays. I just don't really get it. It's just an optics thing. It's just a big game. It's just very disingenuous. And you'll get this all the time from people on both sides of the political spectrum. They'll talk about, oh, we're being replaced, or oh, labor's enabling rape gangs, or whatever it is. And it's like, there's the conclusion to that. And at the very least, the conclusion is you can't be friends with these people. You have to defeat them, preferably non-violently. But it's just, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm making sense with this video. I get that it's a bit all over the place. I have to watch what I say very carefully for YouTube, but hopefully you get my point. So I hope you enjoyed the video, even if it was a little disjointed. God bless, and more content to come.